last week, basically, I got in a lot of trouble. I don't know if anybody saw it. It's actually the number one story.
Did you get in trouble, or were there a lot of people who were just mad?
Well, this is the thing. There's a lot of people who are just mad, but I got death threats, which I consider getting in trouble. So yeah, like basically, you can't. Like you gotta be super careful what you say. This is what I found out. You can't say something that seems perfectly reasonable and logically sounds reasonable, because if you if you upset a certain part of the population, a certain demographic, there's no balance or logic or reason.
That peaceful part of the demographic will send you death threats.
Yeah, yes, you get death threats. So yeah, and I think that's that's probably why you don't see any sort of honest critiquing or exploration of a lot of issues pertaining to that.
For people who don't know what we're talking about, we should probably get this up. So
let's get this up. So basically, I was called on to Good Morning Britain on ITV to do a debate with Dr Shola, and it's funny. So like I was laughing before it even started, because the host Kate Garraway couldn't pronounce Dr Shola's last name. So if we play this clip, you can see this.
Well, lawyer Dr Shola, let me do that again. Okay. Dr Shola, you say your surname, because I'm useless this morning.
Trying not to crack up.
Okay, so read it phonetically. I'm not going to let you get away with that. Read it phonetically.
Okay,
just
I'm going to give it a go.
Moshagba. Well done.
Thank you very much.
Off your tongue.
Thank you very much. By the way, I also stumble like that over Smith. So, it's nothing to do with anything else. I just struggle to get my words out most mornings.
I like how she said she struggles with Smith while pronouncing Smith absolutely perfectly. There was no problem pronouncing Smith.
But people might not find a problem with that. But Carl mentioned it. I hadn't picked up on it, which is, and we'll mention it early. She's the descendant of royalty, Miss Shola.
Yeah.
Okay? So she is using a foreign name. I mean, the name there is of a foreign tongue. Therefore, it's not unreasonable for someone not to be able to say it. And she's of royal descent. It would be like a British aristocrat going over to India and be like, no, it's Mr. Charmingsworth. Say it properly. Say it properly. Yeah. No, I won't let you get away with that. They don't speak your tongue. Literally. I mean, it's
also, like, I mean, Welsh people quite often have difficult to pronounce names. Irish people, you meet somebody, you see their name, it's like Siobhan. It's like, hello Siobhan, and they're like, no, it's Siobhan. And it's like, well, why have you spelt it Siobhan? You know what I mean?
The very privileged position she's in, and then to sit down and like look down on the local of not being able to speak a foreign tongue.
Yeah, and obviously Kate Garraway was dragged for being racist for not immediately understanding the whatever Nigerian dialect wherever it's from. And I'm sorry if it's not Nigeria. I'm not trying to commit another hate crime.
It's not English.
But yeah, basically, it's not, and we're not all experts on every single language around the world. But yeah, anyway, I thought it was hilarious. But basically, I was on there to make a few points about cancel culture. So I was going to say, good people are having their careers destroyed and lives ruined for expressing perfectly reasonable opinions or making jokes that are misinterpreted. Anyone digging back through 12 years of tweets, like an offence archaeologist, clearly has malicious intentions. Nobody's going back that far with like just accidentally stumbling over something that somebody said.
Interested in what you said 12 years ago.
Yeah, like what you doing? Like you'd go to a pub and look, did he say anything bad 12 years ago? When he was like, when you were having a few pints together. No, nobody. It's so weird. It's just a social media phenomenon. And the threat of cancellation hangs over us like this sword of Damocles. So none of us can be open. Like Whoopi Goldberg clearly has some pretty loopy ideas, but I'd rather she says them and then can be corrected than like everybody's like sitting around not saying anything and just having those wrong ideas inside them. That seems like a healthier way to live. And also there's a climate of fear and paranoia that we've all got to live in. It stifles free debate, prevents us from expressing ourselves freely, and instead we say what we think people want to hear. We say what we think society deems acceptable. So that's not. And living under that fear and paranoia.
No, it's no way to grow either, because the whole point of free speech and free debate and these discussions is so we can grow as people and learn things.
Yeah,
if
absolutely.
Stop that, then we can't grow or learn.
And learn from each other. And also, the people who most often get tripped up are people who are, pretty much fully integrated, have lots of friends across all different creeds and demographics. And so when you're comfortable with your friends, you're not just sitting there saying you're having banter and stuff with them. You're not just sitting saying the Guardian ordained correct thing to say. You're in each other's lives and you're having fun and you're making fun of each other. That's a British thing. We make fun of each other and it brings us all together. Nobody's above anybody else, and which isn't the same in every society. So also I just wanted to say we should all be a bit more tolerant and forgiving of each other.
That's a dangerous message.
So then Dr Shola brought up Boris Johnson's letterbox comment, which we shall not repeat, but here's a clip of her bringing it up.
When Boris Johnson, just a few years ago, when he referred to Muslim women in their burqas and niqabs as letterboxes and even compared them to armed robbers, Islamophobia went up by 375% the week after. Just think about that for a second. So whether it was said 10 years ago, 20 years ago, it was hate. It was wrong then and it is wrong now.
The thing is, so I sort of defended Boris. I said it's not, well, we can see what I say here.
Boris Johnson said that he thought that women in burqas look like letterboxes. That's not an expression of hate. It's just a visual gag because they've got they look a bit like letterboxes. It's not a hateful thing. The only hate that I can see is from the people doing the cancelling.
I'm sorry,
who are destroying people's lives based on little, offhand jokes, some tweet from 12 years ago. So they dig back, they hound on them like a public execution. They destroy people's lives. Lawrence Fox, in his entire acting career, destroyed over expressing a perfectly reasonable opinion. I think the cancel culture is poisonous, it's invidious, it's changing our culture. It's making people fearful and expressing what they want to express.
Let's just let Dr Shola respond.
So why is it okay to use gammon to refer to a middle-aged white man? Why is saying gammon okay? Because of the red cheeks. Why is Boris Johnson's comment racist and calling someone a gammon isn't racist?
Of Muslim women.
And then the host just rounded up and said, we're out of time.
Yeah, so, and we actually had to go to an ad break, so it wasn't, but basically Boris made the letterbox comment in an article defending the burqa and defending Muslims' right to wear them, because the burqa had been banned in Denmark, so he wasn't being hateful, he was being, he was saying, no, come on, we're British, we're all, it might, in his opinion, not mine, I think it's great, in his opinion, it might look silly or whatever, but we're all British, we're all going to muck in together, and of course we shouldn't ban it. I love the burqa. I mean, I'm a misogynist, so anything that's a visual representation of patriarchal dominance over women, I'm like, yeah, come on, let's do it. I'll convert to Islam. I love it. Like, I think the burqa is great. And also, Dr Shola said that. Claimed that violence against Muslim women soared in the week after Johnson's comments. This is an oft-quoted, people quote this very often, but if you look at the actual figures down here, this is based on a claim of a 375% increase in unverified self-reported calls to Tell Mama, which is an independent reporting service, not police crime reports. We scroll down some more. So these calls relate to incidents of verbal abuse and rose from a baseline of less than one per day in the week prior to Johnson's comments. So if you go down till you get to the graph. So here we go. Here's the graph. And they've smoothed it out so it looks like there's loads. But look, there's the numbers on the left-hand side.
7.
There's 1, 0, 3. We're talking, and this is across a whole country of 80 million people. Plus whoever's, here and not documented. But, this is, they rose to a peak of 7 in a day. And obviously any racism is bad. Any racism is terrible. But, we're not talking this is an epidemic of violence. No. And this related to, people being called, racial slurs. So being called things like, letterbox or ninja or something like that in the street.
I do know some history of Tell Mama, and I know that they are fast and loose, of course, with the definition of Islamophobia.
Exactly. So we've got an example of in fact, where is it? Where did I put it? Baroness Flather, I think she's a Tory peer. She said about Muslims. There's no point Tories appealing to the Muslim community because she said they're all on benefits of vote Labour. That was recorded as a sort of a hate crime, a violent abuse by Tell Mama. So when people talk about that's the kind of thing they're recording. Somebody saying they're going to vote Labour.
They do, by Labour's own numbers. We actually have them. I don't know if you've seen them.
85%, which,
it's higher. According to Labour, it's 95.
Jeez.
So.
I mean, I'm not entirely... Well, I'm a little bit surprised. I mean, especially the Tories now have the most ethnically diverse cabinet in UK parliamentary history. So, when she's talking about violence against, Muslim women in the street, it's verbal comments, and most of them are online as well. So somebody does a Facebook post, it gets reported, so it's not even directed against a specific person. It's, a lot of it is, obviously it's still bad. It's still bad if people are, saying...
Racism's still bad.
Racism's still bad, And, I think we all know that. Even, people that are condemned as fascists and racists actually aren't racist, I mean, we're not... we know racism is bad, and police reports don't corroborate all the results that Tell Mama report. So, even in the aftermath of the Woolwich, the guy who was beheaded in Woolwich by Islamists... obviously, there was a rise in Islamophobia the week after. So there was, a mosque was firebombed. There was graffiti and stuff like that, which is bad. But a lot of the stuff that Tell Mama was reporting was
in response to Boris's comments were just phone calls.
Yeah, and in the aftermath of the Woolwich attack, and a guy got his head cut off. So you'd expect there'd be some rise in negative comments against the people who,
we're thankful no one else got their head cut off.
Yeah. So, and in the aftermath of the Woolwich beheading, Tell Mama confirmed to the Sunday Telegraph that about 120 of its 212 anti-Muslim incidents took place only online. So yeah, and I also made the point that the term gammon is a racist slur. So, I mean, obviously, according to critical race theory, you can't be racist against white people and blah, blah, blah. But, according to my definition of racism, which is the original definition of racism, it is. I mean, gammon is a racist slur. It's used as a pejorative, so it's a slur, and it's based on skin colour. So, according to Wikipedia, the term refers in particular to the colour of a person's flushed face when expressing their strong opinions. So, a white person expressing strong opinions, typically a middle-aged man. Dr Shola and people of her opinion, of her critical race theory opinion, insist that gammon is not racist because it doesn't exist in the historical, hierarchical, systemically racist power structures that uphold and perpetuate privileged white supremacy.
It's against whitey, so we don't care.
Man, I think if you need to spin off half an equalities dissertation to justify your racism, you know what I mean? You're probably a racist. And yeah, being lectured on privilege by the wealthy, Cambridge-educated daughter of a Nigerian prince is hugely ironic. I mean, you can see that irony.
And that's what me and Carl couldn't go over when we were watching it. And she's going, "This is unacceptable." And it's just like, Shola, you're the descendant of royalty.
Yeah.
You've got more privilege than anyone in this country could possibly have, except maybe the Queen. And you're there being like, "I'm going to talk down to Leo on this and shut him up." Like,
yeah.
Right, okay.
Yeah, and also I disagree that power structures, the whole critical race thing is based on the premise that power structures, that all the systems, organisations around us, promote and favour white people. And I disagree. The promotion of equality and diversity in all organisations. So all organisations now have equality, diversity and inclusion coordinators. And despite them calling themselves equality, diversity and inclusion coordinators, we know it's really just it's how can we exclude straight white men in some way? You know what I mean?
Well, we have the jobs. We featured it many a time. Job applications, so it literally just says whites need not apply.
Yeah. No, so you've got all those
all that
those
privilege.
People, I mean, so we can see that if anybody's being discriminated against systemically, it's white people. I mean, it's there to see in black and white. No, when I say black and white, I don't mean that in a hateful term, okay? And my Muslim ex-girlfriend, who actually, man, if you want to hear, stories of oppression, date a Muslim woman. But so she changed her LinkedIn profile to one that she described as more ethnic. After in the wake of all the Black Lives Matter stuff, because obviously they're hiring. Everybody was looking for more ethnic people to
Good strategy.
So yeah, she did that. And so, for people to be, emphasizing their ethnicity rather than, denying it, surely shows that there's been a change in society. Not that I'm ever sure, society was, in the last 20 years, society was particularly racist or favored white people. But that's, all the organizations I've worked in have been enormously diverse. So, so yeah, and anyway. And the woke establishment and media downplay, anti-white crimes such as, the Rotherham grooming gangs or, suicide bombs, rarely mentioning, the racially aggravated aspect of those crimes. So, Hillary Clinton describing the Sri Lankan suicide bomb victims. It was a church that was bombed.
Easter worshippers.
Easter worshippers. Instead of describing them as Christians, she described them as Easter worshippers. I mean, bear in mind, I'm saying that they weren't white, obviously, but so that's a terrible example by me. But
well, no, because they consider Christianity to be whiteness.
Yeah, whiteness. It's
even if everyone in the church is black, it's still white.
It's the religion of colonialism. So we've exported it around the world or whatever. But yeah. And someone else on Twitter said that gammon is not racist as it was first used by Charles Dickens, because of course nothing first used by a white man in the 18th century could possibly be racist. You know what I mean? Anyway, I just think, I defended Britain, I said, I don't believe it's the seething cesspit of racism and intolerance that angry wokeists say it is. Britain's a warm, welcoming, tolerant country. So the only hate and intolerance I see is from shrieking wokeists striving to destroy people's lives. So, I thought I was fairly balanced, in the thing, and I was, anyway, obviously the press seized on it. There's always the Sun. I think the Sun had a headline calling me racist. Edinburgh Live, I don't think that's a real newspaper.
Name the race. Name the race involved.
Racist comedian. It's just, they can do that. They put it in inverted commas because they're quoting somebody's tweet. Yeah. So basically, if you want to...
One of their friends, usually, which is always funny.
Yeah.
It's like, yes, my mate posted this, so I can quote it in my newspaper. It's like, right.
Yeah.
That's journalism.
Yeah. And how come the people who think that everybody's equal are the racists now? And the people who think that certain demographics, certain races should be held back and pushed down and other ones should be promoted, they're the ones who aren't racist. It seems weird. It seems really weird. Some celebrities I say celebrity, we're talking Alex Bearford on the next thing. So Alex Beresford, so he's the guy, he's the weatherman who walked off. He got Piers to walk, he criticised Piers. And Piers walked off Good Morning Britain, and since then ratings have slumped for Good Morning Britain. It's probably why they got me on. Get some... But anyway, so Alex Beresford called me. Well, where are you going? Go back. Alex Beresford called me out and tries to call me out for this. And
how dare you justify a thing looking like another thing?
Yeah, and I was like, damn, I've upset the weather girl. But yeah, the only hate I see, I don't think Boris definitely wasn't being hateful. It was possibly a little bit of a sort of dog whistle. But he wasn't being hateful. The article, the content of the article was defending Muslims and defending the burqa. So Boris
defending the sanctity of the burqa.
Yeah,
perfect garment.
Defending it. You know what I mean? I love the irony of all these woke liberals who if a man smiles at a woman, they're like, oh my god, that's rape, and then they're defending a garment that bless it, it's it's a symbol of female oppression
because it's forced upon women who don't want it.
That's why I love it. So yeah, the next thing. So if you scroll up, Femi, what's his face? Go down just to where Femi. So Femi says, seriously, Luke Harris, hope you hear me on this. Anthony Jeselnik and Daniel Sloss are two of my favourite comedians, and their humour is probably darker than anything you've ever done. But they recognise their role as comedians in context. You don't. What does he mean by in context? So if you scroll down, I replied to him, I'm like, hi, what do you mean by a role as a comedian in context? I mean, bear in mind that Howard Jacobson describes comedians as public philosophers, so, I think I've got a right to discuss issues. And I also asked, what did I say that upset you? Somebody just replied to me saying it means know your place, which is true. He's saying, you're a comedian, you should just make jokes about, little things. You can't make jokes about certain things. So, I don't know, I think comedy should be able to discuss anything. If we move on to the next one, I got millions of people. So it's like, police. You know what I mean? What have I said? What have I said that's a crime? I can't believe it. Like, I mean, I got death threats and stuff, and I'm actually hesitant about going to the police about them because, well, number one, I don't want to, like, you know, suddenly become like a target. Number two, the police will probably be like, well, actually, we're going to arrest you instead, you know? Like,
you know what? As embarrassing as it is, I think probably one of the officers will have that thought.
Yeah.
Well, they'll think, well, he may have death threats against him, but he did say something offensive.
Yeah, that could possibly be misconstrued as offensive. And yeah, I think it's... I mean,
pointing out the bleeding obvious.
We've seen people getting arrested. There's a woman questioned by the police just last week in Scotland. They said, you haven't committed a crime, but we just want to check your thinking. So, yeah. If we go to the next one... that's somebody, that's a woman of colour, basically defending Boris and criticising Alex Beresford. Because, you know, I know some women, I mean, I guess they're Islamophobic women, but some Muslim women think that the burqa is bad. And I think those women are wrong. And
damn those Islamophobic Muslims.
Yeah. Yeah. So somebody else says, the Prime Minister of the country made the same joke and the plebs still voted him in. Because everybody seemed to assume that I said it. I didn't say it. I was just talking about what Boris said. It's not my joke. All my jokes are great. And they all, like, celebrate how great the burqa is and how it doesn't look like anything. And but this just shows how, you know, misreporting in the media can lead to this kind of stuff. Move on to the next one. So if you scroll up a bit, apparently I'm no longer a human. So I'm unhuman now, according to whoever that is. This person says, nuns are penguins, because we've referred to nuns as penguins. And I do agree that nuns look a bit like penguins. But that's all.
That's okay, that's not going to get you death threats?
That's all. I just, you know, I think nuns look like penguins, but that's the only thing that I think looks like something else.
Don't at me, nuns.
Leo's a coward. He wouldn't dare call Muslim women a letterbox to her face. I didn't call anybody. I was talking about Boris. Jeez, Boris is the one who should be in trouble for this. Jesus, it's mental. If you scroll up, you can see this woman said, thanks for calling it out, because the impact of rhetoric, like Leo's, apparently it's rhetoric now, doesn't just affect Muslim women who wear the burqa, but even Muslim women in general, like myself.
Why are you not wearing the burqa?
I replied saying, good for you for wearing a symbol of patriarchal oppression. As a misogynist, I really appreciate it. And then somebody else called me out for being like, oh, he's trying to defend it, saying he's a feminist. It's like, I'm not a feminist.
What did you call me?
I'm delighted. I'm delighted to see this battle between, you know, like, it blows my mind that, you know, all these like woke lefty feminists are like, you know, all like
cover the women up.
Yeah, like I don't know, the like nothing. I feel like I'm at the circus. It's mental. Nothing makes sense. You know, nothing makes sense. So we move on to the next one. So this woman seemed to have a complete bee in her bonnet about it. So she, if you click on expand out that comment, so she's basically blah 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 blah, and she seems to think that, you know, it's a joke that I made, even though it's clear if you watch the full clip that it's
brought
actually
up by Shola.
It's Boris, and it's brought up by Shola. I wanted to talk about cancel culture. Ironically, I ended up getting cancelled. But yeah, she didn't stop there. She then, if you move on to the next tab, she calls me a paedophile, which so that's Katia Lamb calling me a paedophile. I don't know what her, you know, I don't know why she would do that.
Does she have a fetish for being sued?
LinkedIn took the comment down, so when I went back to get the link, it wasn't there. But luckily, I screenshotted all the stuff, so I had all the receipts. But yeah, the whole thing is meant. I went on Good Morning Britain to talk about cancel culture and to talk about, you know, why people shouldn't get cancelled for making, you know, misspeaking or comments being misconstrued. And then my comments were misconstrued and I got cancelled. So, you know.
But I can't get over the power dynamics there of like the most privileged woman.
Yeah.
You know, background being of royalty, multiple high level universities she's been to, and she's like, yes, I'm the one who's going to speak over you and talk down to you.
Yeah. No, you see see this throughout
because of your white
wokeism.
privilege.
Because bear in mind, wokeism, to have the sort of resources to be able to sit around all day learning about intersectional feminism and all the rest of it, you've got to be pretty wealthy. If you've got to work 60 hours a week to feed your family and all the rest of it,
queer theory doesn't help.
Yeah, you don't have time to sit and and fund all these masters in in gender equality theory or whatever. It's nuts. It's obviously just a wealthy, educated person's hobby. So it's basically a new class system. If you don't have the money and the intelligence and the resources to sit and fill your head with all this nonsense, then you're not gonna be able to keep up with it, and it changes so fast.
You shouldn't be part of society.
That's basically what they think. So wokeism is just a new class system. It's like the Victorian era, the sort of etiquette system. So it's a way of these refined people to identify each other and also separate themselves from those that they see as less human.
If you enjoyed that segment from the podcast, The Lotus Eaters, you can go to lotuseaters.com to get access to all the premium content we have on the site, such as this interview between James O'Keefe and Carl. I'm sick of whining is this clip. And if you want to follow James O'Keefe on Getter, you can at James O'Keefe to keep up with everything he does on there. Otherwise, thank you and goodbye.